Hello everyone, Richard here again. Today I'm going to be doing a product review of the Sandisk 64GB microSD memory card with SD card reader. This is available from Amazon and eBay, and I'll put links for that in the video description below so you can buy it from either one of those suppliers. Now, I'm going to be doing compatibility testing, speed testing, and then I'll give you my recommendations so that you can make a purchasing decision. It's come to my attention since I did the introduction for this video that there is a lot of counterfeit product out there for Sandisk on the internet. So I delved into this deeper. I went to the Sandisk website to see what they recommend, and they have a recommended list of resellers. I may put that link in the video description below, but you can Google it and find it pretty quickly. But Amazon is on the recommended resellers list, and again, I'll put a link to that in the video description below. I did buy this from Amazon, so I know that this is not counterfeit product because they're an authorized reseller of this product. Now, the interesting thing I found out while doing that research is that eBay is not a recommended reseller. So I would not be buying this product from eBay. I will not put a link for eBay in the video description below. Only Amazon will go in there, because there's no guarantee that you won't get a counterfeit product from eBay, but there is on Amazon. Another reason to buy it from Amazon is compatibility. If this card doesn't work for you or doesn't, perform the way you wish it to, Amazon has no problem taking back the product without any issue whatsoever. So I've never had a problem returning product. I've never actually had to return a Sandisk product from them, and that's actually the only place I ever bought it just because of the return policy. But, and I bought, I'd say, half a dozen, if not more, of these cards for video, production and my phone. So at this point, I'm going to zoom in into the package so you can see what the actual product looks like here. And the package should look exactly as what you were just seeing. Go a little further. There we go. It's about as far as I need to go, I think. And there's, you can see what the product looks like. And yours should look exactly the same as this. If it doesn't, then you can also call up Sandisk support, and they will verify whether your product is legitimate or not on their support site or through their support offerings. So go to the website to see that. Now, one of the other thing I wanted to show you here was that I found interesting was this. You see here where it says waterproof and temperature proof, shock proof, x-ray proof, all these things, right? You see the little 4 after it? That's kind of important. That is like a caveat. So let's go take a look at what number 4 says. Number 4 says card only. Now what that means is that all those things apply to the actual micro SD card, not to the SD card adapter. So if you're taking this through x-ray and so on and so forth, or you want it to be waterproof and shock proof and temperature proof, it won't be, the SD card adapter is not any of those things. So I would suggest taking it out of there before you put it through an x-ray machine. So that's number 1. Number 2, you see here all the specifications for this. Interesting thing I notice here is that it does not have a class 1 through 10 designation. This is not a class 1 through 10 card. So I'll go through all the specifications in a later segment, but I just want to show you that. And then really important is the product number. This is how you verify you got what you paid for. So go to whatever seller you bought it from Amazon and make sure that your product number on the UPC code or this barcode here matches what you bought. In my case it does, so it's perfectly good. And here's the product number that we're dealing with. It's SDS QXA2-064G GN6MA, and you can see the 064G, that means 64 gigabytes. So that's it for the product physical setup and things you need to watch out for. Let's unpackage it, and it's pretty simple. You can see here, cut across the line. So I'm going to do that. And let's get that done and unpackage the product. There we go. Let's see how this works. Yeah, there we go. It's like a little envelope. Adult proof. Looks like anyway. Well, let's take it all the way up. There we go. So here's our SD card and product. And micro SD card and the SD adapter. Let's open it up. I'm eager to get it out of there. Again, must be adult proof. My goodness. Okay, I'm going to go a little step further here and use my scissors. Nope. It looks like they had it on the corner here. It says open, but that's not helping me, unfortunately. Fine, going all the way. And be careful if you're doing this not to cut the cards. There we go. Okay, we got it this time. Boy, packaging killer. There's the micro SD card, sorry, the SD card adapter and the micro SD card. Let's zoom in on that so you can see what it looks like. Got it, and I'll show you how to insert it. It's pretty straightforward really, but why not show you? Okay, we've got the micro SD card and the SD card adapter. They go in like this, so the printing faces you. There it's inserted, and the lock and unlock feature for the card is right here. And I believe, though they haven't really specified it, that the top is unlocked and the bottom is locked. Let me see if I have another card that shows you that. Yes, I do. Here's one. There we go. This one actually shows you that the top is unlocked and the bottom is locked. And as you can see there, that little printing. So yeah, top is unlocked. That little nib on the side here, okay, that determines whether it's write protected or not. This is unlocked, and that's the way I'm going to keep it. There's the card. That's what it all looks like, right? So there's a date on it. I never noticed that before, but 2018-11/22, so it's fairly recent build. There's the card. So next, you may need the adapter or you may not, depending on what application you're using it for. Next, we're going to go through the specifications, do some testing, and see what we get. Well, it seems that Sandisk is wanting to throw curveballs at me today because I'll show you why. I just did a product search on that product number that was on the back of my packaging, and just to make sure that I ended up in the right web page for the Sandisk product, and I found it right here. So let's click on that. So looks like the correct product. So I went down to specifications here, and you can see the specifications. We're going to the product numbers here, and right here is my product number. So I'm dealing with a legitimate product number, so more than likely I'm dealing with a legitimate product, and that's what I bought from Amazon anyway. But in the process of doing this, I noticed a few things of high value, and this is going to be the golden nuggets that you guys can benefit from. So here we go. 64 gig card, no problem. This is what I got. Looks exactly the same as what I have. No problem there as well. But look on the video speed here. It says C10. That means that this card is actually a class 10 micro SD card, though it's not listed anywhere on the package, on the back, or anywhere there, or actually on the card itself. And their product image shows the same thing as my product as well, that it does not say C10 on it. It says V30, it says U3, and it says A2, but it does not say C10, though they say it is a class 10 card. Okay, so that's the first thing I noticed. This is a class 10 card. If you're looking for that in compatibility, this card will work for you. It is a class 10 card. That's the first thing I noticed. Second thing I noticed, when I was looking at specifications, I said to myself, well, are they all class 10? And yes, all the cards in this category are in the extreme category are all class 10 cards, though it seems that none of them have it printed on them. So that's the first thing I noticed. But the second thing I noticed is even more valuable, and this one thing is probably going to be a big deal in your purchase decision, because had I known it, I would have made a different purchasing decision because of this one piece of information. Here it is. The write speed on the 64 gig card is 60 megabytes per second. The write speed on the 128 gig card is 90 megabytes per second. That is a 50% increase in speed and write speed. Why is that significant? Well, if you have a high resolution camera, like a 4K camera or higher, and it's capturing video, it's writing to that card. The faster the write speed on the card is, the less likely that the camera is going to have a problem writing its information or the images captured to the card, the more likely that you're not going to have any problem filming at that speed or capturing at that speed. So the faster the write speed, the better on video capture. So going from 60 to 90, that's a huge difference in speed. And and also you're doubling your storage space. So two good things about the 128 gig card over the 64. Had I known that before I bought the card, I more than likely would have pulled the trigger on the 128 because of the faster write speed and the benefit that gives me on video capture, which is the real reason that I'm buying this card. Now, you may be buying this card for a different reason, but write speed is key and king when you're doing video. So if the 60 megabytes per second is more than good enough for you, then don't worry about it. But if you want the fastest write speed, I would, and you can afford the 128, which is probably twice the price of the 64. If you can afford it, I would go for it because you're getting a 50% increase in write speed as well as a 100% increase in storage space. All big bonuses. Okay, and I will put links to all these cards in the video description below at Amazon for you so you can get them easily. Next, I'm going to do a little bit of speed testing on these cards, the write and read speeds, and go through a few of the specifications like the V30, U3, and A2 that you see here. Oh, and one more thing here. If you're considering the 32 gig card, it's even slower than all the rest of them in the read speed. So, take a look at these specifications and be, and understand the differences in the speeds of these cards, which is, surprising to me. I assumed that they would all be the same speed because they're all extreme. They're not. So take a look at these specifications, and I'll put a link to this web page on the video description as well for you guys so you can see the exact product that I'm looking at. All right, I promised I would go through these standards that you see on these cards and the ones you don't, like the video speed C10 and so on, so that you would know what exactly these things all mean. So let's go take a look here. There's three standards that the SD Association, and that's the association that does all these standards for these cards, has designated for speed. And that speed is a constant minimum write speed. So in other words, it's the minimum speed that the card is going to do. So in the C class, you got C2 at 2 megabytes per second, C4 at 4 megabytes per second, 6 at 6 megabytes per second, and C10 at 10 megabytes per second. Now all these cards are C10 right here as it says, though it's not written on the card, they are all C10. So if you're looking for that standard, this card has it. Now all these speed standards are also backwards compatible, which means that if you have a C10, it does C6, it does C4, and it does C2. And the same if you have a C4, it does C2, always backwards compatible. The second speed standard is ultra high speed, and basically it takes over from where C10 is. You see how C10 is 10 megabytes minimum write speed. Well, U1 is 10 megabytes minimum write speed, and then it goes to U3, which is 30 megabytes minimum write speed, which all these cards will do according to the specification, because they all say U3 on them. And if you look at the card itself, you see this little symbol of a U and a 3. That is the UHS-3 symbol. So they all do that. And again, they're all backwards compatible. So if you need a U1 card, the U3 will work in your U1 device, no problem. And then there's the video speed class, and this is the minimum write speed, constant write speed that these will do when they're processing or capturing video. So we got V6 at 6 megabytes, V10 at 10 megabytes, V30 at 30 megabytes, and 60 and 90 at those respective megabytes per second. These are all V30, so they all will do a minimum of 30 megabytes per second video capture, and maybe even better, but that is the minimum they're all rated for. So they'll at least do that. And they're all, of course, backwards compatible to the V10 and V6 specification. So that's what that means. Again, always check your hardware to see what specifications are required and whether these meet those specifications or not. But if they exceed the specification, then it'll work in your hardware, no problem at all, because it's backwards compatible. All right, so let's go down here, and basically we just go through the specifications. I've talked about this: 10 megabytes minimum write speed on the UHS, 30 on the UHS-III. So as a rule of thumb, 4K capable camcorders. This includes your smartphones, because my smartphone's a Note 4. It's an older phone, but it has a 4K camera on it. So I need a UHS-III card to actually keep up with that. If you go slower than that, then I'm going to have frame dropouts, or the camera's just going to stop working in the middle of recording. You don't want that to happen. You want to capture everything and not have that problem. And like I said, as a rule of thumb, 4K capable camcorders, including smartphones, will usually require at least a U3 rated SD card. So this is good for these extreme cards because they are all U3. So that's a good thing. All right. So those are those standards. There's one more standard on those cards that you see here, and that's the A2. What does that mean? Well, let's go through that. Now, they're all A2 except for one, the Extreme 32 gig. I'll talk about that in a second. But the 64 and above are all A2. What does that mean? It means, the application performance class. That's what A stands for. And what that is that if you're using these cards to run software, like you put it in your phone and you're going to be loading apps and running the apps on the actual card itself, or using the card as memory for those apps, then that's what this is about. It's about the performance, the read and write performance of the card itself. It's not about megabytes per second, but how many times you can access it and put data on it, take data off, and how quickly it can do that. And the faster it can do that, the faster your apps are going to run. Now, all of these cards have A2 performance, which is right here, okay, except for the 32 gig. But let's go through it. A2 performance is 4,000 reads, inputs and outputs per second, and or IOPS, or 2,000 write IOPS, inputs and outputs per second. Pretty good. And actually, at this point, you don't get any higher than A2. That's the highest. A2 rating is the highest you can get. That'll change in the future. I'm sure there'll be a 4, an 8, and a 16 in the future. But right now, A2 is the fastest at these speeds. So, yeah, these cards work great as application cards, no problem at all, except for the 32 gig card, because it has A1 performance, and that's 1,500 reads per second, which is 67% slower than the 64 gig and higher cards. And in the write IOPS, it's 500. That's 75% slower than the rest of them. So at this point, there's no point getting the 32 gig card. It's just so much slower than the rest of them. And yet they still call it extreme, which is kind of confounding to me, because the 128 gig card is a considerably faster card than this 32 gig card. It's also somewhat not as considerably faster, but it's still faster than the 64 gig card. And then all the rest are the same speed. So I don't know. It's up to you which one you buy, but I would definitely not recommend the 32 gig card just on the speed alone. It's just slow. Don't get it. I'd say go for the 64. Spend the little extra and get that. And if you can afford it, definitely get the 128, which I'm going to buy as well. So that is a quick breakdown of what all those specifications actually mean. And if you want to see what those, dig deeper into what all that means, I'll put those links that you see I highlighted here in the video description below, as well as links to all these cards as well, so you can get them easily and quickly. And I don't recommend the 32 gig. And the 64 is okay if you can get it, but go to the 128 if you can afford it. Now, I'm going to be testing the 64 anyway. We'll see what we get out of it, what kind of performance it gives you, because I have it on hand, so might as well go and do it. All right, as we know, this card comes with an SD card adapter and the card itself. So in my testing, I tested the card, the SD card adapter, and the actual micro SD card by itself. And I did that by using this little device, which is a micro SD USB 3 card reader. And this thing was really handy because it has an SD card slot in it. It has a micro SD card slot in it. And again, I'll put links for all this stuff in the video description below. But the nice thing about this is that it is a USB 3 card reader. And USB 3 has a throughput of maximum 625 megabytes per second, which is way higher than this little card will ever do. So we know that the maximum interface speed for this card reader will be way higher than the card, so we can push it to the actual max speed of the card. And I did that by plugging it into my laptop on the USB 3 port that I have, super speed they call it, and it's 625 megabytes per second max as well. So good thing to know here is that we got the max speed possible when I was testing it. Number one. Number two, I could have used the SD card reader inside the laptop, but I find it to be really kind of slow. I tested it and it didn't come up with near as fast the numbers as I did with this combination, and it wouldn't have not allowed me to test the card by itself without the reader. It can only test it with the reader, the adapter card on it. So yeah, this is what I used. Again, I'll put links for stuff like this in the video description below. And here are the numbers I got. So let's just bring up the numbers. Here's the numbers. And you'll see that I got actually 8 total tests here. And reason for that is I tried different sample sizes. So when you do the test, you can choose a 1 gig test, or 8 gigabyte test, or a 16 gigabyte test, or a 32 gigabyte test. And this is with Crystal Disk Mark 64. Okay, this is a 64-bit testing program for disk drives. And this is what I got. And the numbers are really nice. And you see that I did 8. And the reason I did 8 is, well, of course, the top I did with the SD card adapter plugged into this unit, like so, with the SD, and the other one I did with the micro SD card plugged in by itself, like so. So I did both. And so the top layer is the SD card adapter, lower layer is micro SD card alone. And as you can see, I got 70 on the write speed on average, up to 71 in some places on this test, and 92 on average on the read speed. Reason I don't, you know, and the 92 is important. You say, well, they said 160. Well, you got to read the fine print. And here's what the fine print says. For 64 gigabytes, up to 160 megabytes read speed, engineered with proprietary technology to reach these speeds beyond UHS-I or I, 104 megabytes per second. So really the card will, you know, to go to 160 needs some sort of proprietary technology. They don't state what that is, and I don't know what it is either. And I know that my card, though it can, you know, it's a USB 3 card, it should be able to transfer up to 625 megabytes per second. Only got 92 out of the read speed, but still a great performance as far as I'm concerned, because really, if you look at their specs here, the real speed without that proprietary technology would be 104 megabytes per second. So, you know, they're being truthful. It's just not, you know, upfront in the sense that you have to read the small print to really understand what it means. So, yeah, they advertise 104 megabytes max. I got 92.5, so I'm quite happy with those speeds. These are the speeds you can expect to get from this card, maximum. Either way, there's small variances with the adapter and the micro SD card alone, but not much, okay? So yeah, I'll put links to all this stuff in the video description below as well. But this is one test. I found another test designed to test the speed of a solid state drives, and that's what this thing actually is. It's a solid state drive. And so I used it to test the speed performance, and these are the numbers I got, as you can see. Let me minimize this again, a little lower. And you can see that consistently across the board, they're 89 megabytes per second on the read speed, pretty straight up, right? And on the write speed, slightly slower than the other tests, but still over 60 megabytes per second every time, including up to 66 megabytes per second on this test down here. And here the millisecond access times all the way across the board. Again, really nice numbers, impressive numbers, and definitely the advertised speed, beyond the advertised speed that Sandisk is actually saying. They're saying 60, so you're going to get more than 60, obviously, according to these tests, especially if you use a card reader like this, a USB 3 card reader, which I suggest you go and buy when you buy the card as well, because judging by the two laptops that I have, the SD card readers in the laptops are nowhere near as fast as this USB 3 card reader is. So go with that. And these are not expensive. I think they're under $10. I'll put links for that in the video description as well. So interesting numbers, great numbers. That's what you're going to get. Let's go next. This is the read and write speed from the laptop drive that I'm using right now. And I was kind of surprised because it's, these cards, this card is almost as fast as this, as my laptop hard drive, which goes to show you that, these things are pretty quick. Now, the other thing too is the access time. Look at my access time here. That's, 19 and 12. We'll go back. Well, this thing's getting 1.53 milliseconds per second. Let's go to the slowest. What do we got? 1.375 milliseconds on the read, and 26 on the write at the biggest. But on average, you can see that it's on the lower sizes. It's even way faster. So let's go back over here. You can see how much faster the read speed is. It's just lightning faster. It's like 19 times faster on the read speed. So you can see why a solid state drive would make your machine faster, because it reads the data on the hard drive way faster, which would make your computer just fly. Interesting anyway. And this SSD program also has the IOPS testing. So I did some of that. I don't know how relevant these numbers are because I really don't know much about IOP testing, but I ran them and this is what I got. So, and by the way, both these tests took about 3 hours to do. So there's about 6 hours of work in doing this. There it is for you. If you want to run this stuff, I'll put links for it in the video description below for you so that you can actually get the same software and run it on your machine. It's free, and I haven't had any problems with it at all. So one more tool that you may want to get, and I used once in a while doing these tests, is an SD card formatter. And this is like I said, this is a hard drive. It's a solid state hard drive, and it can get fragmented. And what that means is that the data on it gets scattered and disorganized. And one way to fix that is just to format it, and that's what I did. You can get programs to defrag them as well, which will make them faster, but not going into that here. So let's minimize this, and I'll show you what I used to format it. And that's this right here. This is called the SD card formatter. This comes from the SD card organization. And let me open it up for you so you can see what it is. There we go. And it will automatically find the card. Now let me plug it into my SD card reader here. All right, and see, he found it right there, E, right? So again, be sure when you're formatting the card, any card at all, that you're formatting the right drive. Because if you're formatting the wrong drive, you're going to lose precious data. So in my case, it's E. If I look at my my drive manager here, you can see that E is the SDXC card. So I know I'm safe to format that drive. Here I would just hit format, and it'll format it correctly for the size that it is. So it's something useful to have. I'll show you where to go get that. You go to sdcard.org, and you go to downloads, and then choose memory card formatter here. All right. And here you get a link to it. You can choose right here for Windows or for Mac. I'll choose for Windows. And then it goes and gives you a great big disclaimer here. Accept it, and then You'll go on, and at this point it'll prompt you to download it. Of course, I don't need to do that. It's a zip file, and you need to unzip it to run it. But anyways, I'll put links to this in the video description below. This is a very handy tool to have for handling these drives anytime that you want to refresh them or clean them out and start fresh. So yeah, I'll put a link for that in the video description for you as well. Okay, that's it for my review. Let me wrap this up. That's it for my video on the Sandisk 64GB Extreme Micro SD card. I think it was a great value. I think it's a good buy. I'll put links for it in the video description below for you so that you can get it where I got it from. Again, great performance out of it. I'm very satisfied with this product, and that's why I only use Sandisk cards in all my equipment, because they work great. Now, as a note, I would say consider going to the 128 gig card for the increase in space. Twice the space, of course, means twice the amount of recording time, and also the increase in speed that you get going from the 64 to the 128. But again, this is a great product, so no problem recommending that. If you like this video and it helped you out in some way, do me a huge favor, click on the like button on the bottom right hand corner and give me a big thumbs up. That helps my channel, it helps my video, and I greatly appreciate it. Also up in the corner you'll see a picture of me. That picture is a subscription link. If you click on that link, you'll be subscribed to my channel, and as part of that process you'll see a bell icon, and the bell icon is a notification icon. If you click on that, you'll also be notified every time I put up a new video, and then you can watch it at your own leisure. Once again, and like always, I want to thank you for watching and for your time.